The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched far beyond what most eyes could see. Made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light, it floated in space near the center of the galaxy. Inside, thousands of different alien beings sat in rows that went up and up like a giant bowl. Some looked like insects, others like lizards or plants. A few were just floating balls of light. They all had one thing in common. They ruled planets and star systems across the galaxy. Admiral Haman Warren sat in his small section marked for Earth. He was the only human in the entire hall. His hair was gray and lines covered his weathered face. He had been coming to these meetings for 20 years now. Most of the other aliens ignored him. Earth was just one small planet to them. Humans were young and weak compared to races that had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Today the council was excited about something new. The tall, blue-skinned Zephyrian ambassador stood at the center of the hall. His voice was smooth as silk when he spoke. Council members, we have found a most interesting world. Our scouts have been watching a planet called Earth for some time. The beings there have just started to reach into space with primitive rockets. They appear to be in the early stages of planetary development. Warren kept his face blank. He did not move or show any feeling. Around him, other aliens began to chitter and buzz with interest. The Zephyrian continued. These humans seem to be clever but limited. They use chemical rockets that barely escape their planet's gravity. Their technology is thousands of years behind ours. However, they show promise for development under proper guidance. A massive insect-like creature raised one of its 6 arms. This was Ambassador Chitik of the Hive Worlds. When she spoke, her voice sounded like clicking metal. The Hive offers to make first contact. We have experience bringing young races into the galactic community. With proper teaching, these humans could serve useful roles in our expansion. Warren's jaw tightened just a little, but he still said nothing. Next to speak was General Drakmor, a lizard-like being covered in dark scales. His red eyes glowed as he stood up. The Drakmori Empire also volunteers for first contact. These humans show signs of being natural warriors. Their history is full of conflicts. With training, they could become excellent soldiers for the Empire. More voices joined in. The crystal beings called Viraneth wanted to study human art and culture. The gas cloud entities known as the collective thought human minds might be interesting to study. Everyone wanted a piece of this new world. Finally, the council speaker, an ancient being that looked like a tree made of metal, turned toward Warren. Admiral Warren, as the only human member of this council, we would value your input about your home world. What can you tell us about Earth's readiness for contact with galactic civilization? Warren stood up slowly. His old bones creaked a little as he rose to his full height. The hall grew quiet. All those thousands of alien eyes turned to look at him. He took a deep breath and let his eyes move across the assembly. Honored council members, Warren began. His voice was calm and steady. I have listened to your plans and your offers. I have heard your assessments of Earth and humanity. You have asked for my input, and I will give it to you. He paused for a moment. The silence in the hall was complete. I have one recommendation regarding Earth. Don't approach Earth. The hall exploded into noise. Aliens chittered, roared, buzzed, and made sounds that had no names. The Zephyrian ambassador looked shocked. General Drakmor's eyes flared brighter red. The council speaker raised one of his metal branches for silence. It took several minutes for the noise to die down. Admiral Warren, the speaker said, surely you can provide more detail about your recommendation. Why should the council avoid contact with your own species? Warren looked around the hall again. His face showed nothing. I have given you my recommendation. Don't approach Earth. That is all I have to say on this matter. He sat back down. The hall erupted again, this time even louder. Ambassador Chitik's clicking grew rapid and angry. This is suspicious. Why would he warn us away from his own people? Perhaps he fears we will discover something he wishes to hide. General Drakmor slammed his fist on his speaking platform. The human is clearly lying. No species warns others away from contact unless they have something to fear. This only proves that humans are not ready for galactic civilization. The Zephyrian ambassador held up his hand. Perhaps Admiral Warren simply feels protective of his homeworld. Many species feel this way when first joining the galactic community. His concerns are natural but misguided. The debate went on for hours. Warren sat in silence through all of it. He did not try to explain himself. He did not argue with their logic. He just sat there like a stone statue, watching and listening. Finally, the council speaker called for order. The council will now vote on whether to proceed with first contact missions to Earth. Despite Admiral Warren's concerns, the vote was not even close. Nearly every species voted to ignore Warren's warning. Only a few small peaceful races voted to wait and learn more first. "The motion passes," announced the council speaker. "The survey mission to Earth will proceed as planned. General Drakmore will lead a fleet of 12 ships carrying representatives from 6 species. They will make peaceful contact and begin cultural assessment." Warren stood up one more time. "You have made your choice," he said. "I have made mine. The responsibility for what happens next is yours alone." Without another word, he turned and walked out of the hall. His footsteps echoed in the sudden quiet that followed. Later, in his private quarters on the council station, Warren sat at his communication desk. His fingers moved quickly over the controls, setting up an encrypted channel that would take days to reach Earth. The message he sent was short and simple. "They're coming. Survey fleet of 12 ships, 6 species. General Drakmore commanding. Expected arrival in 6 months. You know what to do." HW, he sent the message and then destroyed all records of it. Then he sat back in his chair and stared out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning in the darkness around its yellow sun. Soon the Galactic Council would learn why he had tried to warn them away. Warren had been on the council for 20 years. In all that time, he had carefully built a reputation as a quiet, harmless representative of a backward world. He had let them think humans were primitive and weak. He had let them believe that Earth was just another young planet stumbling toward the stars. It had been the hardest role of his life to play. But it was almost over now. He pulled up files on his computer. Pictures of his wife and children back on Earth filled the screen. He had not seen them in 5 years. Soon, if everything went according to plan, he would be going home. The Galactic Council had made their choice. They thought they were about to meet a species of primitive humans flying around in chemical rockets. They had no idea what was really waiting for them in Earth's solar system. Warren smiled for the first time in months. It was not a pleasant smile. "Don't approach Earth," he whispered to the empty room. "I tried to warn you." 6 months later, the Galactic Council survey fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. General Drakmore stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the yellow star ahead of them. 12 ships followed behind him, each one carrying scientists and diplomats from different alien races. "Sensors. Report," Drakmore ordered. The ship's sensor officer, a young Zephyrian, bent over his controls. "Sir, I'm detecting the 3rd planet from the star." "That should be Earth, but what?" Drakmore's red eyes narrowed. "Sir, the readings don't match our intelligence reports. I'm showing much more activity than expected. There are structures in orbit around the planet. Many structures." Drakmore moved to look at the sensor display. His scaled brow wrinkled in confusion. "According to their information, Earth should have a few primitive satellites and maybe a small space station. Instead, the screen showed dozens of objects floating around the blue and green world." "Are you certain these readings are correct?" Drakmore asked. "I've checked 3 times, sir. There are at least 40 structures in orbit. Some of them are quite large. And, sir," the sensor officer's voice became uncertain, "some of these readings don't make sense. The power signatures are too high for primitive technology." Drakmore's communication officer, an insect-like hive member, suddenly straightened up. "General, I'm receiving a transmission from the planet." "Put it through," Drakmore ordered. The view screen flickered and showed the face of a human woman. She had short brown hair and wore what looked like a military uniform. Her eyes were hard and serious. "Unknown vessels," she said in perfect galactic standard. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. You are currently in violation of Sol System sovereign space. Identify yourselves and state your business." Drakmore stared at the screen. This human was speaking their language perfectly. How was that possible? Their intelligence said humans had never made contact with other species. "I am General Drakmore of the Galactic Council Survey Fleet," he replied. "We come in peace to establish first contact with your species." Admiral Chen's expression did not change. "General Drakmore, you and your fleet have 30 seconds to turn around and leave this system. This is your only warning." Drakmore laughed, a harsh sound that echoed on the bridge. "Human, you do not understand the situation. We represent the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. Your primitive weapons cannot threaten us. Surrender now and prepare for cultural integration." Chen's eyes grew even colder. "Your 30 seconds are up." The transmission ended. Drakmore turned to his weapons officer. "Target their largest orbital station. A demonstration of power should make them more reasonable." "Sir, I cannot get a target lock." Something is interfering with our targeting systems. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The sensor officer's voice rose in panic. "General! Ship decloaking directly behind us." On the view screen, space seemed to shimmer and bend. Then a sleek black ship appeared, seeming to grow out of nothing. It was half the size of Drakmore's flagship, but looked far more advanced. Its hull was smooth and curved, with no visible weapons ports or engine exhausts. "Impossible," breathed the Zephyrian sensor officer. "Our intelligence said humans don't have cloaking technology." The human ship moved with impossible grace, sliding around Drakmore's fleet like a shark circling prey. More ships began to appear. First 2, then 5, then 10. Each one different in design, but all clearly more advanced than anything the Council fleet carried. Drakmore's communication officer received another transmission. This time it came from the mysterious black ship. "Council fleet, this is Captain Torres of the UES Nighthawk. You have ignored our warning to leave. Prepare to be boarded. All ships, open fire," Drakmore shouted. The Council ships fired their energy weapons at the human vessels. Bright beams of light crossed space, striking the human ships directly. The aliens cheered, thinking they had scored hits. Their cheers died quickly. The energy beams passed right through the human ships like they were not even there. "What sorcery is this?" Drakmore demanded. His answer came in the form of return fire. The human ships fired weapons that looked like thin blue lines. These beams did not pass through the alien ships. Instead, they struck with devastating force. 3 Council ships lost power immediately. Their shields failed and their engines went dark. The remaining ships tried to run, but the human vessels were faster. Much faster. They moved through space like living things, always staying ahead of the Council fleet's attempts to escape. One by one, the alien ships found themselves surrounded and disabled. The humans used some kind of weapon that shut down their systems without destroying them. Within 10 minutes, the entire Council fleet was helpless. Transport pods launched from the human ships. They attached to the Council vessels like metal insects. Cutting tools sliced through hull plating that should have been impenetrable. Human soldiers in advanced armor poured through the holes. Drakmore found himself facing 3 humans in the corridor outside his bridge. Their armor was black and seemed to absorb light. Their faces were hidden behind helmets that showed no expression. "General Drakmore," one of them said. The voice was calm and professional. "You are now a prisoner of Earth Defense Command. You will be treated according to the Galactic Conventions of War." "This is impossible," Drakmore hissed. "Humans are primitive. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours." The human soldier tilted his head slightly. "Sir, with respect, your intelligence appears to be faulty." Deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the capture of the Council fleet on multiple screens. Her command center was carved from solid rock hidden under miles of ice and snow. The room was filled with the most advanced technology in human space. "Status report," she ordered. "All 12 ships captured, Admiral," reported her tactical officer. "Minimal casualties on both sides. The prisoners are being transported to secure facilities." "Any word from the ships that escaped?" 3 vessels managed to jump to FTL before we could stop them. "They're heading back toward Council space," Chen nodded. "That was expected. They needed survivors to carry the message back to the Galactic Council." "Begin Phase 2, she ordered. "Send word to Admiral Warren. Tell him the Council now knows that humans are not what they expected." "Yes, ma'am." "What about the prisoners?" "Treat them well. Let them see our medical facilities, our living areas, our technology. When we release them, I want them to have a very clear picture of what humanity is capable of." Chen turned to look at a large screen showing Earth from orbit. The planet looked peaceful and blue, spinning quietly in space. Around it, defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets remained invisible to outside sensors. For 50 years, humanity had been preparing for this day. Ever since they had achieved faster-than-light travel, they had known that eventually someone would come looking for them. The galaxy was full of species that believed in bringing civilization to younger races. Most of the time, that meant conquest or slavery, so Earth had made a choice. Instead of announcing themselves to the galaxy, they had chosen to remain hidden. They had sent out scouts like Admiral Warren to learn about other species. They had studied alien technology and improved on it. They had built defenses that no one knew existed. The Galactic Council thought they were dealing with a primitive world that had just learned to build rockets. They had no idea that human ships had been watching their movements for decades. They did not know that every piece of their technology had been studied and copied. They could not imagine that Earth's defenses were more advanced than anything in Council space. Admiral Chen looked at the tactical display showing the captured Council ships. Soon those ships would be sent back to their home worlds. The prisoners would tell their leaders what they had seen. The Council would learn that Earth was not a helpless planet waiting to be conquered, and then the real test would begin. Chen touched a control on her chair. A communication channel opened to Admiral Warren, still serving on the Galactic Council. Haman, this is Sarah. Phase 1 is complete. The Council fleet has been neutralized. How are things on your end? Warren's voice came back immediately. The survivors just arrived. The Council is in chaos. They can't believe what happened. Some are calling for immediate military action. Let them come, Chen said quietly. We've been ready for 20 years. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen chaos like this. Emergency sessions had been called for 3 days straight since the surviving ships returned from Earth. The great crystal hall buzzed with angry voices in dozens of different languages. Some aliens paced back and forth, others made threatening gestures with claws or tentacles. Admiral Haman Warren sat in his usual spot, watching the madness around him. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt a mix of pride and worry. Pride because Earth had shown the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. Worry because he knew what was coming next. General Drakmor stood at the center of the hall, his scales darker than usual. The captured Drakmori commander had been returned to Council space along with the other prisoners. His report had shaken the entire alliance. The humans have technology that should not exist, Drakmor shouted. Their ships move faster than ours. Their weapons pass through our shields. They have cloaking devices more advanced than anything we've ever seen. The tall Zephyrian ambassador raised his elegant hand. General, surely you are exaggerating. Perhaps the shock of defeat has affected your judgment. No species could advance so quickly. Drakmor's red eyes blazed with anger. I am not exaggerating. I saw their ships with my own eyes. I was captured by their soldiers. They have cities under the ice of their planet. They have weapons platforms hidden throughout their solar system. This was not luck or primitive cleverness. This was advanced military preparation. Ambassador Chitik of the Hive clicked her mandibles rapidly. The question is not what they have, but how they got it. No species develops such technology without help. Someone has been arming these humans. All eyes turned to Warren. The human representative felt the weight of thousands of stares but kept his expression calm. The council speaker, the ancient tree-like being, raised one metal branch for silence. Admiral Warren, the council requires an explanation. How did your people acquire technology that surpasses our own? Warren stood slowly. Honored speaker, I am as surprised as anyone by the reports from Earth. I have been serving on this council for 20 years. In that time, I have had limited contact with my home world. It was not exactly a lie, but it was not the whole truth either. Warren had indeed been away from Earth for 20 years. But he had been in constant contact with Earth Defense Command through encrypted channels that the Council's monitoring systems could not detect. The crystal being called Varaneth sparkled with angry light. This is clearly deception. Admiral Warren has been feeding Earth intelligence about our technology. He is a spy. That is a serious accusation, Warren replied calmly. Do you have any proof? The proof is obvious, screeched Ambassador Chitik. Your people knew our language. They knew our military tactics. They were prepared for our arrival. This level of preparation requires inside knowledge. Warren looked around the chamber. Honorable council members, let me remind you of something. I warned you not to approach Earth. I gave you that warning freely and publicly. If I were truly a spy working against this council's interests, would I have warned you at all? This caused some murmuring among the moderate voices. A few species that had opposed the original survey mission nodded in agreement. The speaker called for order again. Admiral Warren, your warning was noted. However, the question remains, how did humanity acquire such advanced capabilities? Perhaps, Warren said carefully, humanity is more resourceful than you believed. Earth has been monitoring radio signals from space for many decades. Maybe we learned more from those signals than you expected. It was another partial truth. Earth had indeed been monitoring alien communications for 50 years. But they had learned far more than just radio signals. Human agents had been infiltrating alien society since Warren's first mission to the Council. General Drakmor slammed his fist on his platform. Enough of these games. The humans are clearly a threat to galactic stability. They defeated a council survey fleet with ease. What happens when they decide to expand beyond their system? What happens when they bring their advanced weapons to our worlds? Support for Drakmor's position grew quickly. The militant species saw humanity as a threat that needed to be eliminated. The merchant species worried about competition from advanced human technology. Even some peaceful races feared that humanity might become aggressive if left unchecked. Warren watched the mood of the chamber shift. Fear was taking hold. Fear of the unknown. Fear of a species that had hidden its true capabilities for so long. The speaker called for military advisors to present their assessment. Fleet Admiral Kethvar of the Hegemony took the floor. His species looked like giant beetles with multiple arms. The tactical analysis is clear, Kethvar announced. Humanity possesses military technology superior to our own. Their cloaking systems, weapons, and defensive capabilities exceed current council standards. If they choose to become aggressive, they pose a significant threat to galactic peace. What do you recommend? Asked the speaker. Immediate military action, Kethvar replied without hesitation. We must strike before they can spread their technology to other species or expand their military further. A full battle fleet should be assembled to eliminate this threat. The chamber erupted again. Warhawks from dozens of species voiced their support. The few peaceful voices that remained were drowned out by calls for action. Warren felt his heart sink. This was what Earth had feared might happen. The galaxy's response to meeting an advanced human civilization was immediate violence. Speaker, Warren said, raising his voice above the noise. I urge the Council to reconsider. Military action against Earth would be a mistake. My people responded to what they saw as an invasion. If you approach them peacefully, perhaps negotiations are possible. General Drakmor laughed harshly. Peaceful approach? They disabled our entire fleet in minutes. They showed no interest in negotiation. You came to their home system with warships, Warren pointed out. How would your people respond to unknown vessels arriving at your homeworld? But the momentum for war was too strong. The fear and anger in the chamber had reached a boiling point. Species that had never agreed on anything were united in their belief that humanity had to be stopped. The speaker called for a vote. The Council will now decide whether to authorize military action against Earth. Warren voted against the measure, along with only a handful of peaceful species. The overwhelming majority voted for war. The final count was devastating. 847 votes for military action, only 23 votes against. The motion passes, announced the speaker. Fleet Admiral Kethvar is authorized to assemble a battle fleet for the conquest of Earth. The objective is complete pacification of the human threat. Kethvar nodded grimly. I will assemble 50 warships from across the Alliance. Each vessel will carry the most advanced weapons and shields available. We will not underestimate these humans again. As the session ended and delegates began to file out, Warren felt a deep sadness settle over him. He had tried to prevent this. His warning had been ignored, and now the Council was determined to escalate the conflict. He approached some of the moderate voices who had voted against the military action. The gas cloud entity known as Ethereal drifted toward him. Admiral Warren, Ethereal said in its whispering voice, this is madness. Your people defended themselves against an uninvited survey. Now the Council responds with overwhelming force. This will not end well. Warren nodded. You're right, Ethereal. But the Council has made its choice. Fear is driving them now, not wisdom. The peaceful delegate from the Harmony Collective, a plant-like species, swayed toward them. Is there nothing that can stop this war? Warren looked at the two beings who still believed in peaceful solutions. I fear it's too late for that. The Council sees humanity as a threat that must be destroyed. They don't understand what they're really facing. What do you mean? Asked Ethereal. Warren was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke softly so only they could hear. The survey fleet fought Earth's local defense forces. 50 ships of the line will face Earth's full military might. The Council has no idea what humanity has been building for the past 50 years. Later, alone in his quarters, Warren sent another encrypted message to Earth. This one was longer and more detailed than his first warning. Sarah, the Council has voted for war. Fleet Admiral Kethvar is assembling 50 ships for a full military assault. Expected arrival in 8 weeks. They're bringing everything they have. The gloves are off now. It's time to show them why Earth stayed hidden for so long. HW. He sent the message and then sat back in his chair. Somewhere in the depths of space, the most powerful military fleet in galactic history was being assembled. Its mission was to destroy Earth and eliminate the human threat forever. The aliens thought they were bringing overwhelming force to crush a dangerous enemy. They had no idea they were sailing into a trap that had been 50 years in the making. Warren looked out his window at the stars and whispered a prayer for both sides. Because when this war was over, the galaxy would never be the same again. 8 weeks later, Fleet Admiral Kethvar's armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 50 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy spread out in perfect formation. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Together, they represented the combined military might of dozens of alien civilizations. Kethvar stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Eternal Conquest. Through the viewscreen, he could see the yellow star that warmed the human homeworld. This time there would be no mistakes. This time they came prepared for anything Earth could throw at them. Admiral, his sensor officer reported. Long-range scans show the same orbital structures as before. Approximately 40 objects around the third planet. Begin full-spectrum analysis, Kethvar ordered. I want to know exactly what we're facing. The analysis took several minutes. When it was complete, the sensor officer looked confused. Sir, the readings are strange. The power signatures from those orbital platforms have increased significantly since our last visit. Some of them are showing energy outputs that should be impossible for structures that size. Kethvar nodded grimly. The humans had clearly been busy since the first contact disaster. But 50 ships of the line would not be stopped by a few upgraded platforms. All ships, advanced to attack formation. Prepare to engage all human defenses. The fleet moved deeper into the solar system. As they approached Earth's orbit, Kethvar expected to see the same black ships that had defeated the survey fleet. Instead, he found something much worse. The space around Earth was filled with vessels. Hundreds of them. They appeared from behind moons, from asteroid belts, from hiding spots throughout the solar system. Ship after ship materialized from what had seemed like empty space. Sir, the sensor officer's voice was shaking. I'm counting over 300 human vessels. And sir, some of these readings don't make sense. These ships are showing power levels that exceed our own. Kethvar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Where had all these ships come from? Intelligence had suggested Earth might have a few dozen vessels at most. This looked like the entire human fleet had been waiting for them. Communications, he ordered. Open a channel to the human fleet. The view screen flickered and showed Admiral Sarah Chen. She looked exactly the same as she had during the first encounter, calm and professional. Fleet Admiral Kethvar, she said. Welcome back to Sol System. I assume you're here to finish what your survey fleet started. Admiral Chen, Kethvar replied. The Galactic Council has determined that humanity poses a threat to galactic stability. Surrender now and your people will be relocated to suitable worlds under Council supervision. Chen's expression did not change. That's not going to happen, Admiral. But I have a question for you. In all your intelligence gathering about Earth, did you ever ask the right questions? What do you mean? You asked how we got so advanced so quickly. You asked where we got our technology. You asked who helped us. But you never asked the most important question of all. Kethvar felt a chill run through his insect-like body. What question? Chen smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. You never asked why we stayed hidden for so long. The transmission cut off. Immediately, alarms began blaring throughout the Council fleet. Human ships were moving into attack positions with impossible speed and grace. In the Galactic Council chambers, Admiral Warren watched the battle unfold through encrypted transmissions from Earth. The Council had set up a war room to monitor the assault on humanity. Delegates crowded around screens showing the tactical situation. Warren stood in the back, supposedly just another observer. But the data flowing across his personal communicator told a very different story. The truth was finally coming out. For 50 years, humanity had been playing the longest game in galactic history. It had started when Earth first achieved faster-than-light travel in 1975. Instead of announcing themselves to the galaxy, Earth's leaders had made a radical decision. They would remain hidden while they learned everything they could about their galactic neighbors. Warren had been part of the first wave of human agents sent into alien space. Using advanced disguise technology and careful identity creation, humans had infiltrated dozens of different civilizations. They had served in alien militaries, worked in research facilities, and even joined government organizations. Every piece of alien technology had been studied, analyzed, and improved upon by human scientists. Every military tactic had been observed and countered. Every weakness in alien defenses had been cataloged and exploited. The Galactic Council thought they were the teachers, and humanity was the student. They had no idea that the student had been studying the teachers for half a century. Warren watched as the battle reports came in. The Council fleet was discovering that their weapons could not penetrate human shields. Their targeting systems were being jammed by technology that should not exist. Their fastest ships were being outmaneuvered by human vessels that moved like living creatures. In space around Earth, Admiral Chen commanded the human fleet from her flagship, the UES Prometheus. The ship was a work of art, combining the best technologies from dozens of alien races with human innovations that pushed the boundaries of physics. "Status report," Chen ordered. "All human vessels are in position," her tactical officer reported. "The Council fleet is attempting to engage, but their weapons are having minimal effect." "What about their command structure?" "We're intercepting all their communications. Their battle plans are exactly what we predicted based on Drakmori military doctrine." Chen nodded. That was no surprise. Human intelligence had been studying Drakmori tactics for 20 years. Every move the alien fleet made had been anticipated and planned for. "Begin Phase 2 of the operation," she ordered. Across the human fleet, weapons systems activated that the Council had never seen before. Beams of coherent energy that could phase shift through any known shielding technology, missiles that could track targets through hyperspace, defensive screens that bent spacetime itself to deflect incoming fire. But the most devastating weapon in the human arsenal was not technological. It was informational. "Open a channel to the Council fleet," Chen ordered. "All frequencies." "I want every ship to hear this." The transmission reached not just the fleet attacking Earth, but also the war room back in Council space where Warren and the delegates were watching. "Council forces," Chen began. "You came here believing you were fighting primitives. You thought you were bringing advanced civilization to a backward world. You were wrong." On the tactical display, Council ships began losing power one by one. Human vessels moved through their formations like sharks through a school of fish. Chen continued her broadcast. "For 50 years, humanity has been watching you. We have been learning from you. We have been preparing for this day." In the Council war room, delegates began to murmur in confusion and fear. How could humans have been watching them for 50 years without being detected? "Admiral Warren," Chen's voice continued, "has not been Earth's representative to the Council. He has been our intelligence operative, gathering information about every species in this alliance." Warren felt every eye in the room turn toward him. The game was over. There was no point in pretending anymore. "Every piece of technology you possess has been studied and improved upon by human scientists," Chen said. "Every military tactic you use has been analyzed and countered. Every weakness in your defenses has been cataloged and exploited." The Council delegates stared at Warren in shock and horror. 20 years of friendship, of shared meals and conversations, of cooperation on Council business, all of it had been a lie. Warren stood up slowly. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly through the silent room. "I told you not to approach Earth," he said quietly. "I gave you fair warning. You chose not to listen." General Drakmor, who had been watching the battle in growing despair, spun around to face Warren. You've been spying on us for 20 years?" "Not just me," Warren replied. "There are human agents embedded in every major civilization in Council space. We know the locations of your military bases, your industrial centers, your population centers. We know your strengths and your weaknesses better than you know them yourselves." On the tactical display, the last Council ship lost power. The entire fleet was disabled, floating helplessly in space around Earth. Chen's voice came through the speakers one final time. "Council delegates, your fleet has been neutralized. Your crews are unharmed but captured. You now face a choice. Accept humanity's terms for peace or learn what Earth's full military capabilities really are." The war room fell silent. 50 ships of the line, the most powerful fleet the Council had ever assembled, had been defeated without a single human casualty. Warren looked around at the shocked faces of beings he had worked with for 2 decades. Some looked angry, others fearful. A few looked impressed despite themselves. "You asked how we got so advanced so quickly," Warren said. The answer is simple. We didn't get advanced quickly. We've been advanced for 50 years. We just chose to hide it until you forced our hand. Fleet Admiral Kethvar's voice came over the communication system from his disabled flagship. This is impossible. No species could hide such capabilities for so long. Warren smiled sadly. Admiral, you're thinking like a species that announces itself to the galaxy and asks to join the comm. The news of the Council fleet's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within days, every civilized world knew that 50 ships of the line had been neutralized by a species the Council had thought was primitive. Panic set in on dozens of worlds as leaders realized they had been under human observation for decades without knowing it. Admiral Haman Warren stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council one final time. But now he was no longer pretending to be just another member species representative. The charade was over. He wore the uniform of Earth Defense Command, and his bearing was that of a military officer, not a diplomatic observer. The Great Crystal Chamber was less crowded than usual. Several species had chosen not to attend, afraid of what they might learn. Others had sent only minor representatives, unwilling to face the human who had deceived them for 20 years. Delegates of the Galactic Council, Warren began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. I stand before you today not as Admiral Warren, Earth's representative, but as Commander Warren of Earth Intelligence Operations. My mission to infiltrate your organization is now complete. The silence in the chamber was deafening. No one spoke. No one moved, Warren continued. For 50 years, humanity has observed your civilizations. We have studied your technologies, your cultures, your military capabilities, and your political structures. We have prepared for the day when you would discover us and decide whether we were worthy of survival. General Drakmore, whose scales had turned pale gray since his defeat, finally spoke. Why? Why did you do this to us? Because we learned from your history, Warren replied calmly. We studied the records of first contact between Council species and newly discovered civilizations. In 60% of cases, the new species was conquered outright. In 30%, they were absorbed into existing empires as client states. Only 10% achieved true independence. Warren activated a holographic display that showed star charts. Red dots marked conquered worlds. Yellow dots showed absorbed civilizations. Only a few green dots represented truly independent species. We decided that Earth would not be conquered, absorbed, or destroyed. So we chose a different path. We would study you until we understood you completely. We would prepare defenses that could not be overcome. And we would remain hidden until you forced us to reveal ourselves. The tree-like council speaker raised one of his metal branches. Commander Warren, your deception has shaken the foundations of galactic civilization. How can any species trust another if humans can hide among us so completely? With respect, Speaker, trust was never really an option for humanity. You don't offer trust to new species. You offer conquest or submission. We simply chose neither. Warren gestured to his display again. Let me show you what you're really dealing with. The hologram changed to show the recent battle around Earth, but instead of showing just the 300 ships that had fought the Council fleet, it revealed the true extent of human military power. The force that defeated your fleet represents approximately 5% of Earth's total military capability, Warren said quietly. Gasps and electronic shrieks echoed through the chamber. 300 ships had been only 5%? The Sol system contains over 6,000 combat vessels, ranging from light scouts to planetary siege ships. Our industrial capacity produces 12 new warships every month. Our defensive platforms number in the thousands, hidden throughout our solar system and in nearby star systems you've never explored. The display shifted again, showing dots of light scattered across nearby space. Each dot represented a human installation or ship. But our greatest advantage has never been our technology or our numbers. Our greatest advantage has been information. We know everything about you, and until today you knew nothing about us. Warren touched a control, and the display showed a map of Council space. Hundreds of red dots appeared scattered across dozens of worlds. These dots represent human agents currently embedded in your civilizations. Military officers, scientists, government officials, merchants, even some of your own intelligence operatives. We have been watching you for 50 years, and we continue to watch you now. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates began shouting in dozens of languages, demanding to know if their own governments had been infiltrated. Some called for immediate action to root out human spies. Others demanded to know how such infiltration was possible. Warren waited for the noise to die down before continuing. Council delegates, I am not here to threaten you. I am here to offer you a choice. Earth is now a known factor in galactic politics. You cannot ignore us and you cannot defeat us, but you can learn to coexist with us. Fleet Admiral Kethvar, attending the session via communication link from his medical bay, spoke with a bitter voice. What terms do the humans demand? Earth's terms are simple, Warren replied. Leave us alone and we will leave you alone. Respect our sovereignty, and we will respect yours. Attempt to conquer or control us and you will discover why we remained hidden for so long. That's it? Asked the Zephyrian ambassador. You don't want territory? You don't want to join the council? You don't want anything from us? Warren shook his head. We never wanted anything from you except to be left in peace. That has not changed. The crystal being Viraneth sparkled with confused light. But your capabilities, your technology, surely you could take whatever you wanted from the galaxy. We could, Warren agreed, but we won't. Conquest was never humanity's goal. Survival was our goal. Now that our survival is assured, we simply want to exist without interference. This seemed to confuse the delegates even more than the threat of conquest would have. A species with overwhelming military superiority that wanted nothing more than to be left alone was outside their experience. The plant-like delegate from the Harmony Collective swayed forward. Commander Warren, some of our species chose peaceful paths when joining the galactic community. Why could humanity not have done the same? Warren's expression softened slightly. Because peaceful species get absorbed by aggressive ones. Look at your own history, Harmony. Your worlds are technically independent, but you serve the economic interests of 3 different empires. Your people live well, but they do not live free. The Harmony delegate fell silent. What Warren said was true, and everyone in the chamber knew it. Warren continued. Earth chose to ensure that we would never be in that position. We prepared for the worst-case scenario. When your survey fleet arrived, we were ready. When your battle fleet came, we were ready. If you choose to escalate further, we will still be ready. What if we choose not to escalate? Asked Ethereal, the gas cloud entity. What if we accept your terms? Then the galaxy continues as it always has, with one difference. Earth exists as a truly independent power, not subject to council authority or influence. General Drakmore's red eyes flared with anger. You expect us to simply accept that humans have been spying on us for decades? You expect us to pretend that none of this happened? No, Warren replied. I expect you to learn from it. Warren activated his display one final time. It showed star charts marking the locations of species that had resisted council expansion in the past. These civilizations chose to fight the council openly when they were discovered. All of them were destroyed or absorbed. Humanity chose a different strategy. We studied you, we prepared, and we waited. Now we are strong enough to defend our independence. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of different species. Other young civilizations are watching this situation. They are learning that there are alternatives to immediate submission or hopeless resistance. Some of them may choose to follow humanity's example. This thought clearly terrified many of the delegates. The idea of other species hiding in the shadows, studying council weaknesses and preparing for future conflicts, was a nightmare scenario. The council speaker called for order. Commander Warren, what assurance can you give that human agents will not destabilize our governments or our societies? Our agents have been among you for 50 years without causing any destabilization, Warren pointed out. Their mission was observation, not sabotage. As long as Earth's independence is respected, that will not change. And if our independence is not respected, Warren's expression grew cold. Then you will discover what our agents are really capable of. The threat hung in the air like a physical presence. Every delegate in the chamber understood what Warren was implying. If the Council chose to continue hostilities with Earth, they would face not just external attack, but internal sabotage from human agents they might never be able to identify. The debate continued for hours. Some species called for immediate action to find and remove human agents from their territories. Others argued for acceptance of Earth's terms. A few suggested that the Council should try to negotiate for access to human technology. Warren listened to it all with patience, born of 20 years of Council meetings. Finally, when the arguing began to repeat itself, he stood up one final time. Delegates, you can debate this issue for months or years if you choose, but the fundamental situation will not change. Earth is now a galactic power whether you acknowledge it or not.